Doesn't it bother you that our mothers are still in marriage, but many of their daughters are divorced? It goes to show that as far as marriage is concerned, there is something fundamental we are missing in our generation.
It doesn't bother us because the survival of a marriage in the African context is dependent on the suffering and the endurance of the wife. Marriage in the African context and the longevity of that marriage is dependent on the suffering and endurance of the wife. Our mothers and our grandmothers endured so that they can stay in marriage, and the women of this generation are not willing and ready to endure. Some of our grandmothers and our mothers endured because our grandfathers and our fathers were successful, and so they did not want to forfeit their children not getting an inheritance. But for some, they only endured because of the stigma of divorce, and some endured because of the social status of being a wife. I always say this. Those of you who followed me long enough know that I say this all the time. Social evolution missed men. Women of this generation are going to school. Even if they are not going to school, they are getting a career. They are getting an income. They are mothers, they are wives. But men are stuck on only being providers. And the thing about this generation is that most of you men cannot be sole providers. Most of you are 50-50 men. In some cases, your wives earn more and contribute more income to the household. Yet most of you men want to enjoy the marriage dynamics that your grandfathers and your fathers had, and that is delusional. Until men are willing to change to become healthy, loving, emotionally available, and wholesome life partners, husbands and fathers, things will not change. The women of this generation will not tolerate any form of abuse, disrespect from a man simply because they want to be married or stay married. And that is something that most of you men have not grappled with. I say this all the time. Dear men, if you want to understand marriage from a real perspective, talk to your mothers. Your mothers were not happy in their marriages. They endured. Unfortunately, most of you men would rather uphold patriarchy than to even seek understanding and empathize with the women in your family. So if you want to understand marriage from a real perspective, talk to your grandmothers and talk to your mothers, because they were not happy in their marriages. They only endured in their marriages, and those marriages survived for 50 years, 60 years, simply because of the endurance and the suffering of the wife. And before some of you come into my comments to paint your grandmothers and your mothers as saints, they were not. Your grandmothers and some of your mothers rebelled against patriarchy by mixing up their children.